Hi, my name is Pri. Thanks for joining me today for this session all about our chakras and how we can activate them through the practice of yoga. So what I have with me here today is a Shruti box, which is an Indian musical instrument, kind of like a harmonium, that just makes a droning tone that you can sync up to your mantras and use for kirtans and for any other kind of devotional music. So we use the Shruti box in tune with our bija mantras to activate or to kind of tune in with each of our 7 main chakras. So each one of our chakras has its own mantra that is just a 1-syllable word. You might be familiar with Om. That is the bija mantra for the 6th and 7th chakras. So there's a different word for each of the other chakras. Lam for the root chakra, Vam for the sacral chakra, Ram for the solar plexus, Vam for the heart, Ham for the throat, and Om for the 6th and 7th chakras. So what we're going to start out with today is a little bit of toning just to get you in tune with those energy centers of your body. So as we go through and we chant the mantra for each chakra, just focus your attention to the specific area of your body and see if you can notice how your body feels in that area while we're chanting the mantra. So what we're basically going to do is I'm going to start with the root chakra, playing the corresponding note on the Shruti box, and we're going to kind of hum the bija mantra, which is Lam. So I'll demonstrate for you first. So this is what the Shruti box sounds like. And what it's going to sound like when I chant the bija mantra is just kind of matching the tone of the note. So just like that, we'll try to chant 3 times Lam. So just try to follow along with me. That was great. So that's the first chakra associated with the root and our kind of our tailbone and sex organ area. So as we chanted that, did you notice any feelings in your body in that area? Just try to be mindful of that if you can notice any activation or any sensations there. So we're going to move on to the sacral chakra, which is right below your belly button. And the bija mantra for the sacral is Vam with a V as in Victor. So as we chant Vam, just try to notice any activation in that sacral area. Vam. Alright, so moving on to the third chakra, the solar plexus. The bija mantra for the solar plexus is Ram, and that chakra is located right here in your solar plexus area. So focus on that area as we chant the mantra. See if you can notice anything. And the mantra once again is Ram. And from there we'll go to the heart chakra, which is located in our heart center. And the bija mantra for the heart is Yam. So we will go ahead and tune in to our heart centers, focus there, see if you can notice any activation. And from there we'll move to the throat chakra right here. The bija mantra is Hum. So let's bring our focus to our throat area. And if the range is getting a little high for you now, you can always try to harmonize and go for the lower octave if that works better for your voice. From Hum, the throat chakra, we're going to move on to the third eye, which is right between your brows. And that is the universal sound that most people are aware of, Om. So we will go ahead and bring our focus to our third eye and we'll chant once again. And the final of the 7 main chakras is the crown, and this is also using the same universal Om, but this time we're going to chant it silently in our minds. So just keep your focus on your crown, which is actually like a little bit above the top of your head, not actually in your body. So you're going to chant Om silently in your head this time. All right, well that was tuning the chakras with the Shruti box and Bija mantras. And now we're going to the asana part of our practice today. So for today's asana practice, we're going to start in mountain pose. So you're going to want your feet to be about shoulder width apart, finding a solid footing, feeling into all corners of your feet, all four corners, making sure they're firmly planted. Arms are going to be at the sides with your palms facing outwards. And we're just going to stand here and take a couple deep cleansing breaths. So for today's practice, we are going to be going through each of the 7 main chakras and doing 4 poses that represent each chakra and will help you connect with the energy of that chakra. So we're starting with the first chakra, the root chakra, that's going to be located right at the base of your tailbone. And this chakra is associated with balance, grounding, and security. So we're starting here in mountain pose, grounded, balanced, and just feeling like we have a strong foundation. So a couple more deep cleansing breaths. And from here, we're going to move into tree pose. So that's going to be bringing our hands into prayer position and then lifting. We'll start with the right leg. So lift it to rest against your thigh or your knee, as far up your leg as is comfortable for you. And as you can see, I'm not the most balanced person at the moment, so whatever you're able to do is perfectly fine. If you need to reset yourself, go ahead and do that whenever you need to. And we'll just take a couple breaths in this pose. And if, like me today, getting your leg up high is hard, just rest it on your ankle here. That's nice and easy. Except for when there's a cat under your mat. So now we're going to go ahead and switch it up, go to the other side. So again, you can bring your leg up to rest on your thigh near your knee or higher, or lower down on your ankle if that feels more stable for you. And we're just going to breathe here for a couple breaths. And back into mountain. Now from here, we're going to come into Warrior One. So you're going to step your foot about 3 or 4 feet back with your foot pointed at about a 45-degree angle. We're going to turn our front foot to face forward. And as we lunge forward so our knee is stacked over our ankle, we're going to bring our arms up and stretch our back. And you want to feel your weight resting on the outside edge of your back foot and really leaning into this pose. And release. Now we're going to switch to the other side. And as we lunge forward, stacking the knee over the ankle, we're going to bring our arms up and we're grounding again into that back foot. And release. And for our last in the series for the root chakra is going to be garland pose. So we're going to spread our legs as if we were going to do a wide leg forward fold. So let's get them nice and wide. And then we'll bring our hands into prayer pose and squat down until you are firmly squatting. And if this is too low for you, you can always bring yourself up a little like this. But if possible, you really want to rest your elbows on your knees and lengthen your back. So we're pushing off of our elbows, lengthening our spine. And we're just going to stay here for a couple breaths. You can also use a yoga block underneath you to sit on if that makes this more comfortable or feel more balanced. And we're going to stand back into mountain pose. And just rest here for a couple breaths, integrating all of that great root chakra stimulation. Okay, so the next chakra is going to be our sacral. This is our center of creativity, sexuality, and relationships. So this, for this, we are going to start with a seated forward bend. So go ahead and sit down on your mat with your legs out in front of you, and we're just going to fold over and try to grab our big toe and put your forehead as close to your knees as possible while holding onto your big toe. If you can't reach your toes, that's perfectly fine. You can put your hands on your shins or on your knees, whatever's comfortable, and just feel the lengthening in your spine and just breathe deeply. And release. All right, so next is going to be reclined bound angle. So you're going to lie all the way down. With your soles of your feet touching your knees as close to the ground as you can get them. And your arms just out to your side. So this is really about opening the hips and letting that creative energy flow. So as close as you can get your heels to touch, and your knees close as possible to the ground. And we're just going to stay in this pose for a couple breaths. Now we can come back up to sitting. Now we're going to come into a tabletop. And we're going to do some hip circles. Now this is just to open up the hips, so the hips are just going to rotate around in a circle, really loosening them up. And you can start whatever direction you like. And now we'll go the opposite direction. And release. So we're going to come back to standing. And for the last of our sacral poses, we're going to do goddess pose. We're going to widen our stance again like we're doing a forward fold, and we're going to try to bring our heels in and our toes are going to be facing out. From here, we're going to squat and we're going to have our arms up parallel to our knees. And we're just going to stay here for a couple breaths. And release. And we're going to do that one more time. So really trying to get low into the squat, but keeping our back straight. And release. Okay, so the third chakra is our solar plexus, which is located about here. And so our solar plexus is the next chakra and is located right about here. And this chakra is all about energy, self-esteem, and personal power. So this is kind of like our energy center. So we are going to start with cobra pose. So you can come lying on your stomach, and we're going to have our forearms if you prefer to have your forearms flat on the ground like this, it's not as intense of a stretch. This is Sphinx pose. You can do that. Or for Cobra, we'll just bring our arms up straight and try to bring your shoulders down, pulling the neck up and lengthening the spine. And you can come back down just to rest. And then we'll come back up. Feel free to do Sphinx for a less intense stretch. And release. All right, so our next pose is going to be boat pose. Now this is a more challenging pose, so I will be doing a modification. Now we're gonna come sitting, and our arms are gonna be out in front of us like this. And if you're able to, you'll lift both legs up like so. But if you're like me and you're not quite there yet, you can just have your knees bent and raise them slightly off the mat like this. Or you can even just lean back a little bit like this, engaging your core with your arms up. And release. And we'll just sit in easy pose for a moment. And we'll go back into boat pose. Now remember, the key is leaning back and engaging your core. This is going to build that energy, that fire in the body. And release. From here, we'll come into tabletop pose. Making sure our fingers are wide, our wrists are stacked under our shoulders, and our knees are about shoulder width apart. Finding a good balance here in table pose, we will just stay here for a couple breaths. Alright, and now we're going to go into bird dog. So you're going to want to raise your arm and the opposite leg. So if you're going to raise your right arm, then you'll raise your left leg. So we're going to go ahead and hold this pose here for a couple breaths. If this is too intense, you can have your arm up and your leg slightly up or all the way up, whichever works best for you. Really grounding into your palm that is on the ground and your knee, finding stability here. And release. Now we'll do the other side. Remember to really ground into your knee and your palm, finding a balance there. And release. Alright, so next we'll be moving on to the heart chakra. Our heart chakra is responsible for feelings of love, joy, compassion for others. So we're going to start with some great chest and heart opening poses. First is going to be camel pose. So we're going to come with our feet tucked under us, sitting back on our heels if possible. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can roll up a towel and put it under the back of your legs. You could also use a yoga block back here so you are sitting on it rather than your heels. That can be helpful. I'm not going to use one this time though. And what we're going to do is place our hands on our hips. Try to kind of find where you can feel your hip bones and kind of push down as if you're moving your hips away from your head or your shoulders. So we're lengthening here. With our hands on our hips, we're going to start leaning back, lengthening, tilting our head back. And this is a great heart opening stretch here. And if you want to do the full camel, you can try to grab onto your heels here. I'm not quite there, so I will just be doing this. You can just let your hands dangle, or you can keep them supported. really feel the stretch across your chest. And release. We'll just sit here for a moment in hero pose. And then we'll go back to camel. And release. Next is going to be fish pose. So we'll be on our backs. And you're going to bring both of your hands right under your butt. So kind of like you're sitting on both of your hands. And from here, with your legs flat on the ground, use your elbows to bring your chest up. Leave your head as close to the ground as possible, but bring your chest up, supporting yourself on your elbows. And just really feel the chest opening. You could even rest your head on the ground if you feel like it. And we're just going to sit here for a couple breaths. Big breaths, really opening the chest. And release. And we'll just lie here in corpse pose for a moment. Alright, and we're going to do one more, so go ahead and put your hands back under your butt and bring your chest up onto your elbows. And release. Back down to corpse pose. All right. Next, we're going to do a bridge. So, lying on the ground with your soles of your feet flat on the ground, we're going to bring our heels as close to our butt as we can, and bringing our hands down by our sides too, trying to grasp our heels if we can. If you can't, just lay them flat on the ground. And from here, we are going to push up into bridge, tightening the glutes, tightening the core. Your shoulders and neck should be relaxed with all the pressure coming from your glutes and your core. And release. And up one more time. Really squeezing your glutes and your core. And down. Our last heart opening move is going to be just sitting here in easy pose with our hands on our hearts. Really connect with your heartbeat, with your breath. Just being here in this moment. So now we'll be moving on to the throat chakra, which is involved with self-expression, communication, and truth. So, very powerful chakra here. So we're going to start with a throat opening pose. So we're going to have our feet tucked under us, sitting on our heels. Again, if this sitting like this isn't comfortable, you can put a rolled up towel under your legs or a yoga block on top of your heels to sit on. We're going to interlock our fingers and bring the interlocked fingers into our throat, tilting our head back to look at the ceiling. So we'll just breathe here for a couple breaths. Feel the stretch in your neck and your throat. Try to keep your pinkies under your chin here, pushing up a little, giving a good stretch. And release. Just sit here in hero's pose for a few breaths. And once again, we'll go into the pose. Really feeling the stretch in your throat and neck. And release. So next we're going to do some neck rolls. If it's comfortable for you, you can stay seated on top of your heels, or you can sit in easy pose. And we're just going to do some neck rolls. If your neck is a little more tight, you might want to do smaller circles. And if you're able to, you can make the circles as big as you can, as is comfortable for your neck. And now switch directions. And come back to easy pose. We'll just sit here for a few breaths. Alright, so this next one is super fun. It's called Lion's Breath. We're going to come back onto our heels with our hands on our knees or on our thighs, the tops of our thighs. And what Lion's Breath is basically we're going to close the eyes as we inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to open the eyes wide, looking up to our third eye. And as we do that, we're going to exhale and our tongue is going to stick out of our mouths pointing downwards, and we're going to make a lion kind of sound. It's kind of fun, like this. All right, so we're going to do that 3 times. So I'm going to start with a big inhale, eyes are closed. And as we exhale, open your eyes wide, looking up to your forehead, and stick out your tongue and go. And we're going to do that again. Big inhale. See, told you it was fun. All right, and our last pose for the throat chakra is going to be feet up the wall. So if you are near a wall, you can basically just come on over and try to get your legs as close to parallel as you can. And we're just going to sit here. Taking the weight off of our backs, letting our legs just rest here up the wall for a couple moments. And if you don't have a wall where you can do this, you can just put a pillow underneath your tailbone and hold your legs up straight. You will get mostly the same effect. And we're going to come back to that. And move on to the third eye, located between our brows. And this chakra is all about intuition, vision, and wisdom. So what we're going to start with is actually an eye exercise for our literal vision. So we'll just bring our hands into prayer pose and just start to rub them together, generating a little heat, warming our hands. And when you feel ready, just place the balls of your palms on top of your eyes. They should be nice and warm. And we're just going to hold our hands here, giving our eyes a nice little rest and massage with our warm hands. So you can just hold them here for a couple breaths. And release. So our next pose is going to be forward fold. So we're going to come standing up. And we'll reach our hands up. And then forward fold. And we'll try to touch the mat. If you're not able to, you can rest your hands on your shins or just let them dangle. Now this exercise is great for the third eye because all of our blood is rushing to our head because we're in inversion. So that is directly stimulating our third eye. Now we're going to come up to a half lift and back down again. Really lean in here. Try to stretch the spine as much as feels comfortable to you. And we're going to come back up to a half lift again. And back down. And all the way up. And we'll just stand here in mountain pose for a couple moments. All right. Now, last pose for the third eye chakra is going to be child's pose. So there's a couple different ways that you can do child's pose. If you're able to do it with your knees together and just folding over and touching your head to the mat, feel free. You can also spread your knees to make a little room for you to get lower. You could also use a block to rest your head on top of. And release. So the seventh and final chakra is our crown chakra, which has to do with spiritual connection and basically, unity or yoga itself. So the pose that we're going to do for the crown chakra is actually corpse pose or shavasana, so that we can really try to connect with the universe as a whole through meditation. So you can go ahead and come lying down into corpse pose, make yourself comfortable for an extended shavasana.